conference showdown as the South Carolina Gamecocks play host to the Memphis Tigers. I'm Dave Weinstein alongside John Williams. They're the national champions, ranked #1 in the nation. They get everyone's top effort, John, and today they'll get it from Memphis.
Absolutely, and they have very similar styles, so it's going to come down to making sure that whoever rebounds, because they both do rebounding very well, they both get into the paint very well, and they play tenacious defense. So it's going to come down to who does that the best.
The Tigers have plenty of scoring options, but leading the way this season, it's Jamira Schutz.
Absolutely. Jamira Schutz is an absolute playmaker, shifty, can play in volume, and near unstoppable once she sees the ball go on the basket once. So South Carolina has to be mindful of where she is at all times and make sure that she doesn't get an open space and open court.
Well, in the midweek win over UCLA, it was the play of Camila Cardozo that really made the difference, and here's what Coach Staley had to say about it.
Camila's got to perform at a high level for us. We need that. We need that kind of effort every time she steps on the floor. And I'm gonna be disciplined in making sure that she gives us that in practice, so she can have these performances in a game, because it'll alleviate some pressure that's put on Aaliyah to be doubled and triple teamed. It's a lot, But she got off that low management day yesterday. And performed for us today.
I totally agree with Coach Staley there. When Cardozo is getting going, I mean, obviously when she scored 16 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 blocks against UCLA, it showed exactly what she's capable of. She has great hands. She can keep the ball alive with second chances, and also can contribute on the defensive end with the block shots, but also being able to alter shots on a consistent clip. They didn't talk about that in the UCLA game, but the 5 blocks is great, but also how many times she disrupted teams from getting into the paint is going to be key in tonight's game as well.
Cardozo coming off of that double-double against Hampton, 11 and 14, and then a season-high 16 against UCLA to go with those 9 boards to lead the way for the Gamecocks. So we're 7-0 overall, 3-0 here inside Colonial Life Arena. Memphis 4-3 overall. They're 2-0 on the road, so we're looking to shock the country today and knock off the #1 team.
Absolutely, and you've got a lot of players on this Memphis team that've got a ton of experience. They've been in high-pressure situations, a couple of NCAA tournament kids, and so you have everything that you need to be able to make history.
This is Bree Beal at the top of the circle. Kira Fletcher getting the start at the point once again for the Gamecocks. Cook inside the paint. Can't hit. And the rebound to Maddie Griggs. Griggs, she'll shoot from 3. Maddie Griggs, 13.4 points per game this season. She's a 44% three-point shooter for the Tigers. She's a player, John, you can't give any space to.
Absolutely. You have to make sure that you have eyes on Griggs at all time, because once she sees it go in, she's very difficult to stop.
Saxton had good position in the post, couldn't hit from close.
That's exactly what you want if you're South Carolina, getting in that duck-in situation with Saxton where she can get busy. She just missed a lay.
Starting lineup for Memphis. First start of the season for Lynetta Williams. She's starting at the 5. And she gets the friendly roll.
And normally, Williams doesn't start. It's usually Wright. But Williams is going to bring a little bit more agility in that post position, the motor in that post position, as Wright's continually working to get herself back into game shape.
Quick hands from Maddie Griggs. Creates the turnover as you take a look at the starting 5 for the Gamecocks, the standard 5. Griggs checked by Cook. Now it's Boston. Griggs off the mark. Beal looks to push. She'll take it herself off the glass. No good.
That goal's got a lid on it right now for the Gamecocks.
Jefferson. Strong rebound from Kiera Fletcher. Gamecocks looking for their first points. It's Cook.
And you can't be upset if you are South Carolina, because they have had a ton of opportunities based on how they play the game. Once they settle down, you know, they're going to be just fine. This game should be, you know, 6-5 right now, but right now they've been a little bit out of sorts when it comes to just finishing the playoff.
Lynetta Williams squares, fires, no good. The rebound to Aaliyah Boston. Two high-scoring teams. South Carolina averages over 82 points per game. Memphis over 78. A whistle. That's going to go against number 1, Hannah Riddick, starting forward for the Memphis Tigers. And now checking in, Jada Wright. She's been the starting center the entire season for Memphis, not getting the start today. It was Lynetta Williams. Wright is in early. She's going to check Boston. Another whistle.
And it looks like that might be a foul on right there, and that is probably why Coach Merriweather wanted to keep her out, because she is so aggressive and physical, and sometimes she plays with violence, and I love it. But she is that because of the simple fact that she can't get, you know, we're here now where she's got 2 fouls and she's got to come out immediately. And for that simple fact, that's why I think Coach Merriweather wanted to keep the Tiger, you know, in the cage just a little bit, so that then the refs could get settled in. And, you know, obviously it didn't work out to her favor, but she came in with a ton of aggression right away.
Well, the foul starting to pile up early on for Memphis. This time it's Shelby Brown who's checked in.
And this is the thing, all South Carolina is doing is setting solid ball screens. Out of inbounds plays, those can be automatic baskets if you just touch somebody.
Cook, speaking of automatic, there's Zaya Cook, team leader in scoring, 13.6 per game.
Zaya Cook is a downhill terror. I mean, when she gets the ball, she is hunting for paint touches. One of those players that can really create, especially once they see the ball go down once.
The floater, no good from Schutz. The follow-up. It's deflected by Beal. Cook ran into traffic, draws the foul. It's going to be the 5th foul already against the Tigers. Still 6:40 left here in the quarter. It's going to be on Destiny Thomas, her first.
When you put that kind of pressure on the paint on a consistent basis, I mean, when you've got players like Boston and Saxton in the paint, and then you've got Zaya Cook attacking, Fletcher getting into the paint and creating and facilitating, it makes it really difficult for you to play honest on the defensive end, where you're going to swipe, you're going to foul from time to time, and that is what makes South Carolina so special in their offensive sets.
Zaya Cook, senior guard from Toledo, Ohio, 78% free throw shooter this season. Trains the first. 3-season All-SEC member for Coach Staley. She's been an All-SEC selection each of the last 2 seasons. Danielle Welch now running the point for the Tigers. She gives it to Destiny Jackson. Jackson runs into Boston. The 3 from Schutz is on the mark.
You have Schutz and Griggs in that game. I mean, it makes it a huge difference maker as far as how Memphis can really spread the floor, which makes it a lot easier for them to do what they do, which is get into the paint, make things happen.
Boston gets into the paint. She made something happen. She drew the foul on Destiny Thomas. Second on Destiny.
And I love South Carolina's mentality there, just making it simple. Like, you know, a lot of times defenses will throw different things at you. Right there, you saw Memphis wall up against Aaliyah Boston to make it very difficult for there to be a paint entry. But it doesn't matter. It is absolutely nothing you can do. And I think that's what Coach Don Staley was talking about in her last interview, about simplifying things. Simplifying it and understand that you can throw a wall out as much as you want. It is absolutely no answer that you can have to combat against Aaliyah Boston.
Boston has Memphis in plenty of foul trouble early on. 2 fouls for Jada Wright, 2 fouls for Destiny Thomas. Those are 2 of the 3 centers for Memphis. We currently have Aaliyah Green in that spot right now. She's a forward, goes 6'1". She'll have to take on the 6'5" Boston. Schutz draws the foul. It's going to be on Zia Cook, her first.
That's what makes Shoots a playmaker. I mean, she has a bag on her, like where she can create in a myriad of different ways. She gets downhill, you see her pivot, spin, and then go into Zia Cook's body to manipulate the foul, is what I like to call it. I love those types of players that can just go get one when they need it. That's a skill.
Shoots a 78% free throw shooter. She's the leading scorer, double digits every game this season. Her season high is 21. That was against Southern Illinois. In and out on the second, and Boston tracks down the rebound. 9-6 lead for the Tigers. Here's Fletcher. She was so good against UCLA. See if she can get that mid-range shot going today against the Tigers. Cook weaves her way inside and hits off the glass.
See, Zia Cook always has that motor offensively to try to put pressure on the defense, and she's one of those players that can relieve that pressure off of the paint from time to time with her ability to get into that area and knock down the mid-range.
Well, she has 6 of the Gamecocks' 8 so far. Welch. That's a great-looking shot from Danielle Welch, the freshman guard from Anderson, Indiana. Step back, got a little space. Fletcher looking to answer. She does.
And that's what Fletcher has to do, especially if Memphis is going to wall up to try to keep the ball out of Aaliyah Boston's hands. Fletcher did a great job. You talked about it just a second ago against UCLA, being able to show that mid-range jumper when her man was playing off of her to stop Aaliyah Boston.
Cook picks up her second, and it'll take us to immediate timeout. 4:50 remaining in the first quarter. Memphis leads South Carolina 11-10. Memphis has looked good early on. An 11-10 lead over the #1 team in the nation, South Carolina. One problem so far, though, John, if you are the Tigers, the foul trouble of 2 of your 3 centers. They have 6 fouls already.
And the scary thing is they just got bigger. So that wall that you're trying to create to stop Boston, if you've got Cardozo as a high-low action where either Cardozo is at the paint and then you've got a Boston at the elbow, she can duck in and create an angle, all off of just good basketball movement. So it really depends on how Memphis plays defense on the perimeter to make it difficult for the post-entry passes or elbow entry passes to happen.
Jackson hits the second, and now she'll check out as Maddie Griggs checks back in. Jackson has been a spark plug this season off the bench for Memphis. One of several transfers from Wright State that are on the Memphis roster, as Coach Merriweather, of course, came over from Wright State as well, but several of her players and many of her staff, we'll talk about that a little later in the broadcast. That's a great look to Beal. Can't finish from in close. Still alive, Cardozo.
It's a cheat code, and you talked about Coach Staley staying on top of her in practice to make sure that she has that energy every time she steps out on the floor, because she is a game changer on both ends of the floor when she plays with the energy that she played against UCLA with.
Bree Beal tracks down the rebound off the miss from Griggs. Cardozo posting up the much smaller Green.
Simplify, simplify, simplify. That's what Coach Staley talked about. And you see it right there. It's just easy. I mean, you just pass it in there. I don't care what you do. You can throw 2 people on Cardozo or on Aaliyah Boston, and it doesn't matter.
It's the first lead for the Gamecocks, 14-12. Aaliyah Green bothered by Cardozo. Lynetta Williams over Boston. Boston got a piece, but also got a piece of Williams. The foul will be called on Aaliyah, her first.
Now, that's a situation where, obviously, you know, that's a foul right there, but you see it right there, Bree Beal and then Cardozo cleaning up the boards and doing what she does best. But, yeah, going back to Boston there, those are situations where that's probably a low percentage shot. You just go ahead and let her make that and take that shot. But you don't need someone like Boston out with foul trouble early.
Lynetta Williams, senior forward from Arlington, Tennessee. Gets them both. Good news for her. She's only a 42% free throw shooter coming in. Memphis doesn't shoot well from the line as a team. Boston inside.
Another beautiful duck in where South Carolina first, is moving the ball around the perimeter. They just stayed on the right side of the floor at that time, but it's just nothing you can do. And it may be Memphis' strategy to see if Boston can beat them one-on-one a couple of times, see if they can get the ball over the top. So that starts with Memphis' perimeter defensive pressure.
Letitia Meir, who was checked in for the Gamecocks. So much talent off the bench for South Carolina this season. Cardozo inside, a terrific feed from Boston.
Absolutely nothing you can do. So what ended up happening was you see Boston fighting in the paint, trying to see if she can get an entry, and then they do a quick switch where Boston goes to the high post. Cardozo goes to the paint and then gets an easy basket off of a duck in.
There's a steal from Griggs. She'll pull up. Can't hit. Now Fletcher looks to push. Up ahead to Bree Hall. Hall takes on two Tigers and draws the foul. We're seeing Cardozo and Boston playing together as a Twin Towers, John, and it's
scary.
Coach Staley said it's to our advantage that we have players on the floor where other team starters have to play less minutes or where the opponent has to foul or give us a bucket. If we can get those two to play together and play like they did against UCLA, it's another layer where teams have to scout us in a different way. And it's just such a tough matchup for any team, let alone Memphis.
Yeah, it just creates diversity in your lineups as far as just making sure that you have a ton of different options, a ton of different lineups that mesh and connect together. When you have, obviously they start a little bit smaller with Saxton at the 4. They start in that regard. It's nothing, obviously that brings a different type of level of intensity, and then you bring in Cardozo, who was, coming from an ACC school, was the defensive player of the year in the ACC.
That's right.
She now is coming off the bench and also impacting the game. You don't have any let-off when it comes to bench play for South Carolina.
And there's that impact of the missed free throw.
It's terrifying. I love it.
8 points for Cardozo. Start ahead. This is Hall. Raven Johnson in at the point for the Gamecocks.
Oh,
Boston.
Beautiful keep from Aaliyah Boston.
Now the senior forward from St. Thomas, who had 18 and 10 against UCLA for her 17th straight double-double against a ranked opponent. Opens up a 9-point lead for South Carolina, who's on a 9-0 run. As we take another look.
The defense played the play. Assumed that the handoff was going to happen. Aaliyah Boston keeps it, gets all the way downhill off of 2 dribbles and finishes.
Aaliyah Boston was SEC Player of the Week back on November 23rd after the double-double at Stanford, which was 14 and 13, and the other one at Maryland, the other top 25 double this season, 16 and 13. She led the nation with a program record 30 double-doubles last year. And, John, she doesn't just do it against the lesser opponents. She does it against the top teams.
Does it against everybody. And honestly, this is the quietest season of dominance that I've ever seen. I mean, honestly, we got to celebrate Aaliyah Boston more because you don't get players like that on a consistent clip.
Boston and Cardozo, both perfect from the field so far. Cardozo's 4 for 4, Boston's 2 for 2. So combined 6 for 6, and Cardozo has done it all in the last 3 minutes.
Absolutely. That is the big difference maker. And we talked about the similarities of these teams. The big difference was going to be post play.
Turnover for the Tigers. Trying to get it to Saxton. She saves it, but into the hands of Jefferson. Imani Jefferson. Riddick, and now Griggs. Riddick trying to find some space. Unable to. Excellent defense from Saxton.
I'm not sure if Ami here was ready for that, but that's a situation where you just probably want to give it to Raven and bring it up and see if you can get something going from the first phase of the fast break.
Coach Staley, 11-25 win seasons, 5-30 win seasons, 35 wins last season for Staley and the Gamecocks. Swing it to Johnson. Cardozo converts again inside.
Well, that's the thing. Cardozo knows that Wright is in foul trouble. You just go right through her because she's going to definitely play with less physicality and verticality.
Look at those numbers. Cardozo 10 and 5 in the first quarter. Brooks pulls up. She can't hit. Wright fighting for the loose ball. Instead, it's Raven Johnson. Under 10. Cardozo once again.
Beautiful pass from Raven Johnson there. Obviously, she is a capable stat stuffer, and you always have to be mindful of her passing ability. That's a great pass from Raven there.
Camilo Cardozo, the featured player in the first quarter. 12 and 5. She did so in only 5 minutes. As South Carolina will end the quarter on a 13-0 run.
She's a cheat code, man. Got to be mindful of her. She can make a difference immediately as soon as she steps on the floor.
Welcome back inside Colonial Life Arena. South Carolina leads Memphis 27-14. John, you and I had a great conversation yesterday with Coach Merriweather of Memphis. Big theme in that conversation for Coach Merriweather was family. She said, hey, my staff, my 2 grad assistants graduated 2020 from Wright State, both played there. Didn't get a graduation with COVID, but they'll be getting master's degrees this spring. Director of Ops Devin Reed came over from Wright State. Associate head coach Abby Jump, she said, I coached at Wright State. And when we say family, we mean it. It's our connectivity and team. We try to be an example that we expect from our players, but it's definitely a we over at Memphis, which she brought over from Wright State. She said, I don't think there's anything I've ever accomplished on my own. She talked about associate coach Ashley Barlow, who's been with her. Every year she's been a head coach, came over from Wright State as well. And Coach Merriweather said they're great examples and role models for our student athletes.
Well, you know, obviously she believes the motto in having great people around you to enhance yourself, and that's what she's done, and done a fantastic job of it. Off of that conversation we had with her, I was just like, I love this lady. I mean, she is right up my alley, especially of how she gives teams, players, second chances. You know, she recruits, and when I saw her recruit in Chicago this past summer, and she was recruiting these teams, these players. Every player I saw her look at, they had that dog in them. I loved it.
First basket for Hannah Riddick. Carolina dominating in points in the paint. The whistle on a foul is going to be called as Amihir went down. But yeah, John, back to that conversation. You and I kind of both wanted to play for her after that conversation was over.
In a heartbeat. I mean, because she does. I mean, she demands intensity. She demands tough, gritty, battle-esque basketball at all times. And so you can see it. You just saw right there how they play, how they defend. They're physical. They do not fear anyone. You may score on them, but there is no fear involved in how they play the game.
And they're having success. She led Memphis to their first 15-win season since 2015-2016 last year. It was her first year on the job. 3 seconds for Amihir. She pulls up at the foul line. No good. But there's Saxton with the offensive rebound.
Saxton's another one, obviously very athletic. Constant motor, continually working for the ball.
Under 10 for Johnson. Too strong. Griggs tried to track it down for Memphis. It's going to be off of Griggs, and so it'll stay with the Gamecocks.
And that's what South Carolina does. They create multiple opportunities for themselves by how hard they work to keep the ball alive. You saw there, Amihir, just the ball was gone. She worked to make sure that she could get another possession for the team.
Bree Hall. Shot no good from Hall, who has shot well this season. She's shooting 50% from the field coming into today, including 4 for 9 from 3. That one's just off the mark.
Yeah, that one's just off the mark. But the thing is, she's going to have more opportunities like that if teams are going to continue to scheme against South Carolina to defend the paint. That means if it does get inside and everybody implodes, then outside is going to be open.
Here's your player to watch. Shoots.
She does what she does. She puts the ball in the basket. She is a definite playmaker.
6 points for Jamira. Shoots.
And here's my thing, like there's teams that have 6-7 players on their rosters, and they usually play a lot. But they are not teams that have players that can run the floor as smoothly as Cardozo. See right there, obviously Shoots can create there. Rondo, fake, turn, pivot, keep her balance, and score.
I like the Rondo comparison because she's a smaller player but gets most of her points inside the arc.
Yeah, now she can shoot the three. I've seen her let it go and fill it up real quickly from the perimeter as well, but that usually opens up because of her ability to get downhill in a myriad of different ways. I mean, she's just very shifty and can really get there going right, left, however you want it.
She's a preseason all-conference second-team selection. Checking in for the Gamecocks, that's Ashlyn Watkins. She wears number 2. Freshman forward from right here in Columbia, South Carolina. Averaging 8 points a game. She had a season-high 14 against Hampton, 14 also at Clemson, where she became the first Gamecock to dunk a basketball.
She can get off the ground, I'll say that much.
Here's Griggs, checked by Hall. Instead, it's Jackson. Destiny Jackson, the junior guard from Lexington, Kentucky, averaging 6.9 per game. Jackson, one of those players who came over from Wright State. And me here misses everything.
Looked like a foul on Griggs there.
It's going to be the second on Maddie Griggs. Just a 7-point lead for the Gamecocks. Tigers hanging in there.
Like Don Staley was a little upset in that situation. I think a lot of it was because of the ball movement stayed on one side of the floor. You got to let the offense work, and she talked about simplifying, right? When it's not there on the right side of the floor, move the ball to the left side of the floor and spread them out a little bit, then see if you got it.
Gamecocks trying to snap a 6-0 run for the Tigers. Raven Johnson. Now Bree Hall. Watkins was asking for it underneath. They get it to her, and she converts.
Yeah, right now, Memphis is trying to wall up and stay in front of South Carolina at all times and front the post. But the thing is that when you have that kind of length and athleticism, you can throw it somewhere up in the air, and those girls will go get it and finish.
So much height. Watkins goes 6'3", Boston 6'5", Saxon 6'2", Cardozo 6'7", me here 6'4". Can bring in Fagan at 6'3".
Yeah, and so if you do decide to pressure the post, if you're small, you still got to get the ball, get your hands on that ball somehow, and you can't do it.
There's a me here defensively. Takes it herself.
Me here, one of those players. I mean, obviously she's 6'4", but she's a point forward. Plays with great pace, as you just saw there, and is a blur in the open floor.
Her first bucket of the game, coming into today, averaging 7.9. Take another look. Defense to offense for the Gamecocks, and it was all me here.
Look at that handle. Look at the ball control in the air, avoiding the charge and just finishing with the offhand. You understand why she's such a special player, too, because she has a guard mentality. Now, obviously, she can play in the post, but she's the type of player that can get things going real quickly in the open floor because of her handle and court vision.
She's the most versatile player on the team, played every position in high school and AAU. Jefferson with the rebound for the Tigers. Gamecock lead is 11. There's Ami here once again with the steal and the finish.
It looked like she tried to dunk that thing, with all due respect. I mean, she would have had a little bit more space, and Ami here before her ACL injury was dunking on a consistent clip, and I think last year media asked her, was she there yet, and she was just like, I'm getting close.
She was the first Canadian woman to dunk, and Ami here is taking over for South Carolina.
All that starting with South Carolina creating turnovers and getting out in the open floor, and then just letting their playmakers and creators create.
6 straight points for Ami here. Shot no good from Jackson. Thomas with the offensive rebound. Lynetta Williams. Brown runs into traffic, loses possession. It's Fletcher the other way. Up ahead, Watkins.
And Watkins had a little bit of issues, corralling that ball on the catch, and it messed with the shot a lot.
Nice move from Amani Jefferson. Can't finish, but she draws the foul.
That's what I do like about Jefferson. Jefferson plays with so much heart, grit.
Foul's going to be on Tawasia Cooper. It'll bring us to immediate timeout as we take a look at the highlights from Letitia Ami here. 6 straight points for the Gamecocks. She did it on defense. She did it on offense. South Carolina with a 35-20 lead. Welcome back to Colonial Life Arena. Second quarter, South Carolina leads by 15. And John, it's been the Letitia Ami show here in this quarter. 6 points, 2 steals, 2 blocks, stuffing the stat sheet.
Definitely one of the most versatile players in the country. I just want to say, whoever developed her when she was coming up, thank you for not just sticking her in the post and limiting her to just one thing. She does everything. We talk about her being able to play multiple positions, but the special thing about Ami here is that she can also guard every position, and that's what makes her a special, special player.
Coach Staley talked about her this week. She said, Ami here, she's focused, she wants it. She's playing for a lot of people, and she's filling the void the right way, focused on basketball, being the energy and the versatile player she's capable of being. She's making plays and utilizing her court vision, defending, efficient, and so valuable, John.
Hey, youth league coaches, stop throwing tall girls in the post just because they're tall. Let them develop like that, and you can have something special, just like a kid like Ami here. I mean, I'm getting on my rec league stint here, but we can't keep doing this. Like, let's let them work. Let's let them rock a little bit. Let's work with them and have the patience to let them go and be what they could possibly be.
And despite the starter skills, she comes off the bench, and Coach Staley said, I like her off the bench. I know she's a starter, but I like the punch off the bench that she gives us. And when we start her, we don't have an experienced punch off the bench. Letitia said in the postgame, it's magical to have a team like that where you can just call on anybody. So she's willing to do it and be that punch off the bench for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a second lineup of starters, to be honest with you, with what they have on their roster. I mean, it's her that's coming off the bench. It's Cardozo. I mean, it's Raven. I mean, you got a bunch of kids that can come off the bench and also just make life terrible for the opposing team.
Shelby Brown looking to make something happen. She drives on Watkins. No good. The rebound to Boston. And here's Ami here. Feeds Watkins. Can't get the bounce. Tracked down by Brown. She's trapped. Able to get it up to Tanyelle Welch. And Welch will pull back and set something up for Memphis. Destiny Jackson against Fletcher. Lost possession. It's a turnover. 5th turnover for the Tigers.
And you see, there's just not a lot of offensive fluidity for Memphis right now as far as them moving the ball and having circulation. Coach Merriweather talked about that in a few press conferences where the ball's got to move more. You got to spread that defense, make them tilt, make them move, load them a little bit so when the ball goes to the other side of the floor, you can use the talent and abilities that your roster possesses.
The big guns are back in for Memphis, Griggs and Schutz. Jada Wright in as well with 2 fouls. This is Fagan. Sanaya Fagan, the sophomore guard from Ellenwood, Georgia.
Fagan's definitely a high IQ post. She recognized that Wright was going to be fronting Cardozo and making it really difficult for her to get a entry pass, so she just drove.
Cardozo got a piece of the shot from Wright.
And that's a situation where obviously when you get out in the open floor, you got to be looking back because with South Carolina, their style of play, they're looking to push to see if they can get something easy in the open floor. And then if push comes to shove and there's a half-court defense, then they run their offense.
Good look from Wright to Griggs. Again, in South Carolina defensively, that was Talasia Cooper. Cooper feeds Fagan.
That is what Talasia Cooper brings to the table. One of those players, long, rangy, skilled, a capable shooter from the perimeter, but very shifty and a playmaker, as you just saw there.
Well, Memphis calls timeout as South Carolina has opened up a 39-22 lead here in the second quarter. That's a freshman Cooper to a sophomore Fagan, so not just a talent-rich bench, but a talent-rich young bench, John, for South Carolina.
Yes, obviously you've got a ton of seniors on this roster, but it's that next player up mentality where the next wave of South Carolina basketball has got a bright future. And as long as they continue to buy into the culture, they can continually be dominant. And that's what makes Coach Don Staley and this program so special. And it's how they've developed and immersed in this culture. And obviously the fan base has been amazing and stellar for these girls. And so it's just moving in the right direction, in a direction that you don't see anywhere else but here in Colonial.
They're undefeated so far, 3 wins over ranked opponents. They played a tough non-conference schedule. Coach Staley said, we've always found that stiffer the competition, the more you learn about your team. You learn if they like each other, if they fight for each other. It's really a true measure of chemistry that you don't get if you beat teams by 60 every game and everyone is playing and happy. And in tougher matchups, the sub-rotation is shorter. We saw that against UCLA. It's really a true test of where you are and the roles that you're developing during those times that'll help them come SEC play and come NCAA tournament time.
And it's what Coach Staley has always done. I mean, she sees more and learns more about her teams. Even when in the down years at the beginning when she first got there, she was able to play and they'd get blasted by 30 or 20 or whatever, and then all of a sudden they're having a conversation the next year and saying, you guys remember this, you guys remember this. It's because they were able to learn from their experiences of being in those situations. You just don't want a cookie-cutter schedule where you feel all happy every time. It's you want to feel based on your best version of competition.
It was a tough shot from Jamira Schutz, and she was bothered by the length of Sanaya Fagan. Fagan at 6'3" and Schutz at 5'9". So difficult going up against South Carolina. Coach Merriweather said, we have to take an opportunity to push in transition. We get clean rebounds. Our best offense is in transition. Fagan can't hit.
Fagan's got some stuff to her game. I mean, as she continues to grow and learn and understand the system and program, I mean, she's going to be a really special player just because of how well she moves off the ball as well as once she gets the ball.
Memphis trying to do everything they can to battle. Coach Merriweather said if we turn this into an undisciplined jumping contest, we have no chance. We have to penetrate, kick it. Everyone is ready to shoot the ball. 28% so far from the field are the Tigers. There's the bounce for Schutz.
Yeah, I mean, obviously shoots being a scorer, that's not luck even though it touched every part of the rim. I mean, she just knows how to do it.
There's just no stopping Camila Cardozo. She has 14.
And she's just picking up where she left off of just being that dominant force in the paint. That obviously she ducks in and you can throw it anywhere up in the sky and nobody else can jump up to that part. So it's her advantage.
She averaged 5.4 per game last season, up to 9.7 this season. She's in double figures. That one off the glass and in. 11 points for shoots.
That was a good possession for Memphis, just honestly, just completely backing off of the perimeter to be available to get that pass. But the thing is that if you got two people in front and you still can throw it over the top, it's going to be really difficult for you to stop them once they've got a chest at the basketball goal.
The lead is 15. 10 seconds for Griggs. Now it shoots. She checked by Beal. Beal with the steal. Up ahead, it's Fletcher. And Beal with the follow.
Beal's one of the best two-way players in the nation for that very reason. She can guard multiple positions. I've seen her guard quick, shifty, small guards. I've seen her guard post players. She can guard anything.
Shot from Williams before the buzzer is short. And that'll do it for the first half. South Carolina really impressive in the second quarter. 43-26. They lead at halftime from Columbia. It's halftime here in Columbia. South Carolina with a 43-26 lead over Memphis. John, we're going to break down some stats from the first half.
Well, you see it there. I mean, the field goals, the attempts from South Carolina, they've gotten a ton just because of the amount of possessions that they've had. Obviously, the rebounding category, they've taken a lot of shots at the paint, and if you are going to double team the paint, there's going to be an opening on the opposite side of the floor, or weak side of the floor for another rebound. And so you saw there South Carolina with a ton of second chance points. All South Carolina's points aside for free throws were points in the paint. And obviously South Carolina with their bench has been actually outscoring their starters for a majority of the season.
Yeah, their bench is outscoring their starters 41.6 per game to account for 50.2% of the team's total. Against ranked opponents, the starting lineup edges a bit in front, but the bench still averages 31.7 in those games. So they do it against top competition as well.
Absolutely, and that's just the luxury of having such a deep team that has high school All-Americans all the way down the board, but you also have players that are skilled, players that can do a little bit of everything. You don't just have one Swiss Army knife, and most teams have just one. You've got a team that has multiple players that can do a little bit of all the little things, and that's what makes them so deadly.
Well, two of the players that do a lot inside for South Carolina are Aaliyah Boston and Camila Cardozo, and this is what they've done so far. Check out those totals in the first half. Cardozo, 14 points, but both players perfect in the field.
Yeah, and Aaliyah Boston has served as a great teammate as well as making herself available, understanding that because of her resume, because of who she is, she's going to demand double coverage every single time she touches the ball, which opens it up for players like Cardozo, who can also get the ball into the basket consistently. And so it will take and alleviate a lot of pressure, like Coach Don Staley talked about. It'll take a ton of pressure off of her, Aaliyah Boston, if Cardozo can continue to play at this clip that she is playing.
They're both playing at a high level here in the first half. See if they do so again in a second. Some highlights starting with Memphis.
And you see right there, shoots using that rondo fake, getting some space and creating. They did good at the beginning of the game as far as just getting the paint touches, working inside out, and really just trying to find the open man on a consistent clip. And when they are rolling offensively and getting circulation offensively, they're tough to guard. And so coming into this second half, I think that that's what they're going to look to do.
Memphis shooting 32% as a team. South Carolina shooting 54%, a high number because most of their looks have been from in close.
Yeah, and you see Zia Cook in the first basket there just getting into the paint and being a terror as far as getting downhill. And you saw South Carolina do a ton of that, making baskets close to the basket. And you see the rebound, second chance points from Cardozo, Aaliyah Boston keeping it after they predicted the handoff action. Then you got a me here, a Blur in the open floor, showing her skill as well as touch and athletic ability, creating defensive stops and then creating turnovers and getting another fast break there. And so you're just seeing like the full-fledged of what South Carolina is capable of when they are going on all cylinders, starting with defense, getting out in the open floor and creating easy offense from there.
I'll start with the ball here in the second half. Starting five in the first half is back out there. Fletcher, Boston, Saxton, Cook, and Beal. Beal trapped a bit. She'll kick it out to Fletcher. Too strong. There's Kiera with the offensive rebound.
You see it, they're trying to sandwich Boston right now and make it really difficult for her to get a touch.
On the floor, Saxton and Riddick. It's a jump ball, and it'll be Memphis possession.
Memphis did a really good job of executing their strategy and really making it difficult. What was happening was South Carolina was able to get angles in the post in the first half where they could just toss it over the top. But you want to catch the ball with somebody in front of you so that Memphis can sandwich them. And so they weren't able to sandwich in that first half. Look for them to do that in the second.
Lynetta Williams getting the start at the 5 today. The first start of the season for the Tigers. She's back out there starting at the center position in the second half. Tried to get it to her. Instead, it's a turnover. And it's Aaliyah Boston the other way. Bree Beal. Fletcher, the grad transfer from Georgia Tech. Double-double, 12 points, 10 boards against UCLA.
She's got great size. I mean, she's a big guard. She's physical. She hunts to create more opportunities for her team. And there you see there the duck in for Aaliyah Boston. And it started with South Carolina having good ball movement down the perimeter and making the defense have to shift where she could get the angle she needed to get that layup.
Largest lead for the Gamecocks, 19. They'll look to add to that total on this possession. Fletcher. They're going to get it to Saxton. Instead, it's a turnover. 7th turnover for the Gamecocks. Kiera Fletcher running the show for Dawn Staley's Gamecocks. Missed last season due to injury, but she was a 1,000-point scorer at Georgia Tech. Averaged 9.6 per game in her career there. She's earned Coach Staley's trust. We weren't sure who was going to be the starting point guard this season. We've seen some of Raven Johnson and me here at that spot as well. Some of Zia Cook. Shoots. It's a tough shot.
And it's a tough shot because there's a lot of trees down there. And so that's a good thing about South Carolina on defense. Even when you get like a straight line drive, you're running into high hands, verticality, and you've got to shoot over that.
I mean, offensive foul on Kiera Fletcher, her first. Take another look as Jefferson drew the foul.
Yeah, and that's what Jefferson does. She plays with a ton of energy. She is a disruptor on the defensive end. Very gritty, very emotional the way she plays, which usually leads to positive basketball.
And she led the Tigers in steals last year. Played her freshman season at Wright State with Coach Merriweather. Williams, smooth stroke.
Yeah, Williams has played with a ton of energy this game as far as just stepping up into the center position and being available, but also just playing with a lot of aggression, which she needs to have in that paint area.
Saxton can't respond. There's Jefferson. And have a foul called on Kiera Fletcher, her second. Getting back to Williams, John. Season high 8 points in the opener against Columbia. She had 6 last game against Indiana, but comes from an athletic family. Her dad, Lance, played pro ball overseas, starred at DePaul with Quentin Richardson.
Yeah, she's definitely coming from great pedigree, but you can definitely tell that she plays extremely hard no matter what the situation is. It's just how she knows how to play. It's in her DNA. And so she's playing, even though, you know, Memphis is outmatched here, she still is playing like as if this is a 2-point game.
Twin sister, it's part of the program as well. More on that in a little bit. Boston will hand off to Fletcher. An open look in the corner for Cook. She's short. Gets her own rebound. That might have been deflected. And so it's Jefferson the other way. Trying to put the moves on Cook. Lost the handle for a moment. Myra shoots, the 5th-year guard from Brownsville, Tennessee. Work her way around Boston. Looks like Aaliyah's going to be called for the foul, her second. Destiny Jackson will check back in for Memphis. Jackson's been a spark plug, as I mentioned in the first half, but she struggled last game against Indiana, didn't score. Another transfer from Wright State, a couple of seasons there, one of them with Coach Merriweather. She was the second leading scorer last season at Wright State, averaging 13.4 per game.
And like you said, she didn't score. She didn't have an offensive game, but what Coach Merriweather loves about her is her ability to play defense on ball and make it uncomfortable for the primary guards to get going.
Well, travel is going to be called on Shelby Brown. 10th turnover now for Memphis. Brown started the opener against Columbia, but has been off the bench since. Came to Memphis as a JUCO transfer. They'll swing it to Raven Johnson. Saxton will show, now Boston. She was bothered from behind by Wright, who's going to be whistled for the foul. That's the 3rd foul on Jada. Jada had a quick 2 early on.
Very quick 2. I mean, within about a 15-second span, all off of the inbounds play. And so, you know, that put Memphis in a hole, which we talked about Merriweather trying to find ways to, you know, keep her out there on the floor, because when she is on the floor, she's very impactful for the Tigers. And so, obviously going against Aaliyah Boston, who is also physical and aggressive, especially on the offensive end. She gets in high-low action, and she gets to the angle. Wright doesn't know how to just not play physical. So she's going to do that. And so, if you're able to move Aaliyah Boston, you're probably fouling her.
All right, back on the bench with 3 fouls, and Destiny Thomas now checking Aaliyah Boston. Boston with the rebound, and Johnson looks to push. In transition, it's Cook. She slices her way inside. The rebound to Shelby Brown.
There's a lot of contact down there. I really couldn't see. There was a lot of trees going on. I mean, it was just like the closing of the Red Sea there with Memphis. As soon as she jump stopped, it was a lot of folks around her.
Shoots marked by Beal. Beal often has the opposing team's best player. There's Boston defensively against Jackson. 3 seconds for Griggs.
That's what Griggs does. I mean, you saw it. She hesitated as if she was going to drive and then just pulled up.
2 threes for Griggs. That's wrestled away by Saxton. And a foul's going to be called, I believe, on Memphis.
That's what makes Saxton so special. Even when you think you have the ball, she's that one that's behind the scenes creating another opportunity.
It's the 3rd foul on Destiny Thomas. It brings us to immediate timeout. South Carolina leads Memphis 47-31. Lynetta Williams has 6 points, getting the start at center today for Memphis. She and her sister Lanice, they came to Memphis together as recruits for the class of 2019, and after playing together in high school, they would go on to play together in college. The package deal It's unfortunate Lanice battled knee injuries early on, so they actually only shared the court together 3 times, and then a much larger obstacle emerged. Lanice had a heat exhaustion episode, and she was diagnosed with a heart condition. So there were surgery setbacks, and last season was all medication and training, trying to get her heart into proper rhythm. It was hard on Lynette, too, as her twin sister, just watching your twin suffer and not being able to help. She said it was really hard watching Lanice struggle and not be able to do anything about it. It was hard for Coach Merriweather as well, who came up with a solution, John, for the senior season. She knew Lanice wanted to coach one day, so they made her an undergrad assistant coach, and now she can still be a part of the team, be with her sister, and also learn from this tremendous staff.
Absolutely. You see a lot of situations like that where kids have situations of health and they are just let go by the wayside there. And you saw Merriweather really stick true to her family mentality in making sure that she found a way to have Lanice involved in the program, even though she was going to be unable to play moving forward.
Shot from Cook is no good. It's been an offensive struggle for both teams combined, just 3 field goals to 6 turnovers here in the third quarter. 47-31 is our score in favor of the Gamecocks. This is Jefferson on the drive. Another opportunity, but she's up against Boston. She'll have to kick it out. Welch, good from 3.
And that was all because of Jefferson's ability to keep the ball alive. Even though she's small, she's one of the better rebounders for Memphis.
Boston responds on the other end.
That was just nothing but Aaliyah Boston running the floor.
Welch, the backup point guard, now 5 for 10 on the season, 3-pointers. All-state player out of North Central High School. There's Jackson. Now, just as I talked about the struggles, John, both offenses coming alive.
Yeah, man, I think it really does come down to understanding the strategy even more once you get in the halftime. The nerves are really big, especially going into the first half.
How about the feed from Beal to Saxton, 2 vets that know how to play together. Stoppage here. Looks like maybe a clock problem, John.
Yeah, absolutely. But, speaking on Saxton there, I mean, that was just a great offensive dissection there where South Carolina understood what they were going to be putting a ton of attention on Aaliyah Boston, and that may be something that they talked about at halftime too, where all of a sudden you got Saxton cutting down the middle and finishing easy.
The clock didn't start. So we're going to reset now, and Mihir and Cardozo have checked in for South Carolina. Saxton and Cook exit. Riddick to inbound. Welch stops, pops. Can't hit. Fight for the rebound. And it's Riddick. Welch again, tough shot. Gets the friendly roll.
And Welch is a true freshman, but very, very shifty, capable of finishing in the mid-range on a consistent basis.
She has 11. This is Boston. Checked by Green. Whistle and a foul called on Memphis. It's going to be on Destiny Jackson, her first.
And you're seeing Memphis try a different strategy on trying to stay behind and play behind Boston. Sometimes they're going to throw, and you heard Merriweather say this in our interview with her, that she was going to throw the whole kitchen sink at them. And so if fronting the post doesn't work, then maybe I'll try to play behind the post, force them to finish in the middle of the floor, throw double teams from there, just anything to keep South Carolina out of any type of offensive rhythm.
And she said we'll give different looks to Aaliyah. 4 different people will guard Cardozo and Boston. She said it'll have to be a great team effort. Nothing they can really do one-on-one against those two.
No, I mean, if you don't want to be on an island with Aaliyah Boston or Cardozo.
Boston has 14, tied for the team lead with Cardozo. It's a nice feed to Jefferson.
Yeah, that is actually one of the better offensive sets that Memphis runs, especially after they've hit that handoff a few times.
There's the height advantage for Cardozo.
Yeah, and you saw it, like, they throw the ball in impossible situations, impossible places that only Cardozo can get. The defense can't get to it. And so that comes with camaraderie and chemistry and understanding, like, where do you want the ball? And then you have to figure out how to put that in a game-like situation. And so you're seeing this South Carolina Gamecock team start to develop more and more chemistry as they play games together.
Cardozo in particular, Coach Staley said her progression has been moving in the right direction. To have a player of that caliber and talent coming off the bench, she feeds a me here. You have a pretty good starting five, but Cardozo brings a different dimension to our team. She utilizes her height to her advantage, and that's to their advantage. She did so that way in the passing lane to Amir.
Yeah, and that started with Raven Johnson and her ability to see and find the right angle to give Amir the rock. Nothing.
Again, they found Jefferson inside. Tigers can't convert on 2 opportunities, and now it's Raven Johnson. Stops, pops. No good, but the follow-up from Boston, that misses as well. The whistle is going to go against Aaliyah Boston. She can't believe it. She picks up her third.
She did a Steph Curry takeoff as far as, oh, that's it, I'm out. And recognized that it was back in, but by that point she was out of rebounding positioning and got herself a foul from that.
Boston, the preseason All-American, SEC Player of the Year, 2-time National Player of the Year. Accolades are endless for Aaliyah Boston. It'll take me 5 minutes to go through all of her awards.
Yeah, we talked about that before. She just, like, I don't know why she doesn't get as much media attention, I guess, as that she deserves. I mean, because we should be hearing about that. I mean, there's other things on ESPN that we see all the time. I want to see Aaliyah Boston on there more.
That was cooked to a me here, the transition basket from the Gamecocks.
You saw that right there. I mean, that was a blur. I mean, that was off of just one offensive miscue from Memphis, and then South Carolina takes full advantage of that.
So the lead is 19, a minute to go in the quarter. A rejection from Cardozo. Beal on the drive. And the foul is going to be called on Imani Jefferson.
Yeah, Jefferson was not in any type of position. She's smaller, so she got taken for a little ride there, but that's just a good, sound offensive possession there, but you see how quick they can get down the floor, and it's hard for Memphis to recover and get in transition defense from there.
Beal can't hit the first. She's now just 3 for 9 in the season free throw opportunities. Mentioned just the 1 point in the last 3 games coming into today, but she's been doing everything else. The team leader in blocks coming in. Defensive prowess, draws the toughest assignment game after game. This is Griggs inside the arc, back out to Brooks. That one not close.
I understand why they brought Brooks out there. She is an automatic floor spreader, somebody that can shoot the ball at a high clip for Memphis.
Griggs, one of those players as well. She, coming into today, was 15 threes away from breaking the program record.
13 now.
Now it's 13. She has 2 against the Gamecocks. Is the senior guard from Memphis. Not a great pass, and it's a turnover for South Carolina, so Memphis will have the last shot here in the third quarter, 6.2 to go.
It was a good idea, just a rough pass as far as you just saw Zia Cook try to shift the defense with one dribble and make them commit one side, and then all of a sudden make that pass to me here, and now your positioning in the paint's going to be available.
0.3 on the clock. He shoots to inbound. No time for Brooks. South Carolina ends the quarter on a 7-0 run. We'll head to the fourth with the Gamecocks leading the Tigers 60-40. As we get ready for the fourth quarter, Aaliyah Boston already has her 66th career double-double with 14 and 10. It's her 6th this season.
That's beautiful. I mean, obviously she's been doing it. I mean, I think she's like first in the SEC in double-doubles as well. But, I mean, it just goes along as far as the long line of double-doubles and accolades that she's had in the past. And, you know, I want her to have her flowers just as much as I want Dawn Staley to have her flowers too. I think that as much as South Carolina is celebrated here, I feel like it should be more of a national level thing. And so this team is special. I'll say that much. And I think that started with Coach Dawn Staley in a situation where didn't really have a premium of women's basketball. There were the juggernauts in there. And now you're in a situation where she's in that GOAT conversation, and you can make a good argument. And so it's just being able to be in a situation, in a place, to be able to set a culture that is unparalleled.
She's a Hall of Famer. She's built a tremendous program here at South Carolina.
Hall of Famer. She's a NBA, like 6-time NBA All-Star. Olympic gold medalist 3 times as a player. She just got one as a coach. I mean, national champion. I mean, what else do you want?
Fagan drives and she draws a foul. Talking about Boston, John, you said you think she should have even more accolades and more national recognition. I think she'll get it at the WNBA draft.
Oh yeah, she'll get it. I mean, as far as just making sure like that the WNBA draft is getting what it deserves as well. I mean, she'll be the, last year SEC Player of the Year, SEC Defensive Player of the Year, Naismith Player of the Year, Naismith Defensive Player of the Year, USBWA Player of the Year, AP Player of the Year, Wade Trophy winner, Lisa Leslie Award winner, Wooden Award winner. I mean, the list goes on. I'm just playing around here. You see what I mean? I'm not even cooking with gas yet. And so you got that kind of esteem. Like, you have to celebrate that because you don't get that every day.
She's expected to add #1 overall pick to that list.
Expected. She should be. I mean, that's a guarantee, right?
You would think. You have to play out the season. There's certainly other star players who are going to emerge, but Boston has to be the front runner for that slot.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I just have never seen a player impact the game where you have to change everything up in order to try to beat that team because of her. And so Dawn Staley talked about it as far as just never taking it for granted when you have kids like Aaliyah Boston and impactful post players that do everything on the court, but then also the type of player she is off the court. And so she celebrated her, and I can see it going a long way moving forward once she finishes up college and goes out into the professional world.
Riddick misses the second, the rebound to Cardozo. The lead is 21 for the Gamecocks, and here looks inside to Fagan. And she was bumped by Hannah Riddick. It's going to be the third foul on Riddick. And I talked about athletic families of some of the other Tigers. Riddick, her dad, Eric, played football at NC State and was also an ACC long jump champion, played pro football in the CFL with the Montreal Alouettes and Calgary Stampeders. So she's from Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Yeah, so they got a nice little connection there where obviously it's not just luck that these players are so athletic.
Welch up ahead on the fast break, can't convert. So here's Bree Hall. One-on-one, it's Hall. The follow-up from Cardozo is good off the glass.
It's just too easy. That's way too easy. I mean, Cardozo just makes life easy for the Gamecocks, especially when the shot's not falling on the initial play.
She's a team high 18. Tough shot goes for Jada Wright, who's back in.
And that's what Wright was looking to do, is if she was able to get out on that floor, and she never was able to get herself into an offensive rhythm.
We have a whistle and a foul is called on Jada Wright. That's her fourth.
And you see it in her body language.
Yeah.
She's just trying to figure it out, like, man, I can't catch a break today.
We asked Coach Merriweather about keeping Jada on the floor. John, you talked about it a little bit earlier on. She's fouled out a couple of times this season. Both of those games, she played less than 10 minutes against Columbia and St. John's, both losses. And Coach Merriweather told us she's had a difficult adjustment to the speed of the game after she got COVID. And her fouling has something to do with her ability to be conditioned. It's a significant obstacle, especially in a day like today when you have to go up against a player like Leah Boston or Cardozo.
Go against Leah Boston and Cardozo, and they run. As soon as the ball is out, they are gone. And so that's just a part of it, but then they're constantly working in the paint. I don't know, like, you ever played pickup basketball before, Dave?
I sure have.
All right, have you ever had to guard somebody in the post?
And then typically at a height disadvantage in that matchup.
but you got to work, right? Like, it's like a wrestling match for about 30 seconds. And so imagine doing that for an entire game. Like, you're going to be winded. And so Wright, who is very good at that, has to get herself back in that game shape where she can do that on a consistent basis so that she can help her team more.
And she's a talented player if they can keep her on the floor. A four-star recruit back when she was coming out of high school. She was the #1 center in the class of 2017, a McDonald's All-American. So happy to have her. Just have to have her in condition to stay out there. This is Hall. She is met by Amani Jefferson. Well, you talked about it, John. Jefferson plays tough.
Plays tough, plays physical, can get off the ground. I mean, she's very athletic even for her size, and that's how she's able to get rebounds and things of that nature for her team.
Made the Horizon League all-freshman team back at Wright State with Coach Merriweather. There's a steal from Welch. And she'll be fouled by Ashlyn Watkins. Watkins picks up her first.
Yeah, and Watkins was trying to, and this is what we talk about with freshmen, understanding the speed of the game and what it presents, and just figuring out what the defense is trying to give you at a quicker pace. And that's the main thing.
Destiny Jackson gets around a screen. Jackson.
There was not a lot of daylight for Jackson to take full advantage of. She was able to get that floater off before Cardozo was able to get there and made it work.
This is Cooper. She's guarded by Jackson. Hall in the corner. That's good. Rattles it in.
That's what Bree Hall has been able to do for this team. Knock down that open shot when there's a ton of pressure being put in the paint area.
The first field goal for the Gamecocks outside the paint. 1 for 4 from three-point land. Jefferson lost it for a moment. Jackson for 3. Can't get the bounce, but the rebound to Riddick.
Riddick has done a good job of just working in that paint as an undersized post. She's been doing everything she can to keep that ball alive.
Back iron for Welch. Amihir up ahead to Hall. Nice move off the glass and in.
Great pump fake from Hall, understanding that the last time she got in the open floor, she got blocked right away, so she made sure she pump fake, knowing that her defender was going to jump.
Hall had a career high 14 last weekend against Hampton. And 1 for Destiny Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson is definitely doing everything she can and try to keep this team in it and try to keep them going and learning as they get better in their offensive sets.
Second foul on Talasia Cooper as we take another look. Jackson getting it to go.
That's the second time that, and obviously, you're seeing South Carolina does a good job of making it difficult to get ball rotation by keeping the ball in the corners, and they deny the corners and try to force you to drive into help defense. And so that time, help defense couldn't get over quick enough.
Jackson can fill it up She comes off the bench, but she had a career high 22 against Northern Kentucky, 20 games in double digits while at Wright State.
Oh, she can score the ball. I mean, that's just a good thing to have.
A tough angle on the follow-up from Cardozo. And we'll go the other way.
It's impressive as is for Cardozo just to be able to get that second rebound.
Raven Johnson checks back in for the Gamecocks, and me here will take a seat. Welch around the screen from Williams. Here's Jackson. Great look to Jefferson, draws contact, and she'll head to the line.
And there's another situation where Memphis has been able to utilize that corner back cut where they do a ton of handoffs, and then they'll make that last-minute decision to back cut and see if they can get something going before the secondary defender, Cardozo, can get over and commit.
2 shots for Jefferson. Misses the first, and now the crowd will get loud here inside CLA as Chick-fil-A is on the line here for this second attempt.
Do we get sandwiches as well?
I'd like one.
I'd like one. It's the number 1, right?
Oh, and Jefferson spoils the fun for the Gamecock faithful.
I was hoping for a number 1 with pickles.
South Carolina will call timeout with 5:17 to go here in the fourth quarter. And it's going to bring us to our media timeout, so we'll take a break as well. All Gamecocks, they lead the Tigers 71-49. Camila Cardozo, her 9th double-double of her career, her 4th here at South Carolina. Career high 18 points to go along with 10 boards. And John, she was your player to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you see what she's capable of doing just because, I mean, Memphis has a ton of players that are above 6 foot, but it's a lot different when you've got a 6'7" player as athletic and with great hands as she does. And she's got good feet as well. Like, it's just, she's not a dud out there. She runs as if she's 5'11". Finishes so well around the basket, and so it makes her a matchup nightmare.
Well, Coach Merriweather and company trying to find answers to that matchup nightmare. Last time Coach Merriweather was in Columbia, it was 2002. While she was at Cincinnati, one of her mentors drove her from Cincinnati to Columbia when she was a grad assistant. First and last time she was in Columbia until today. They played St. Peter's in the first round of the tournament and won, and then Katrina couldn't travel with the team because she was doing some student teaching at the time. That's why she got a ride down. They lost to South Carolina in the second round of that tournament. Yeah, she was going to be a teacher and coach club ball if college coaching didn't work out.
Yeah, she's from the grassroots era as far as just being totally enveloped with it, because her dad was actually a great AAU, runs a great AAU program in Indianapolis. And so she understands the AAU circuit. She understands the grassroots circuit, and so does a fantastic job of recruiting in that regard.
4:55 left to go from Columbia. South Carolina leads Memphis 71-49. Welcome back to Colonial Life Arena. Midway through the fourth quarter. John, before the timeout, you were talking about the grassroots background for Coach Merriweather, and she told us, my dad was in grassroots basketball for 30 years, called Family Incorporated, and speaks to what his focus was. And of course, we talked about the theme for Coach Merriweather and family at Memphis, but it was for inner city kids in Indianapolis. If they wanted to play, they played, no tryouts. She said, hey, I'm an AAU girl who's fortunate to have a D1 job. It's always going to be bigger than basketball, but she met some legends she told us about, and she called George Gervin uncle. Grandfather was connected to Oscar Robertson, so at 7, 8, 9 years old, she was around those guys, but she said even now, seeing Coach Staley up close and personal, that's a privilege.
Yeah, she also talked about just how it was such an impact to be around kids in the inner city, and understand how to maneuver through that and how to coach that. And so it's how she's able to get those so-called kids that are diamonds in the rough and find ways to coach them and find ways to get through them and find ways to help them transition from high school to college, from college to the professional level. And that comes with the program that she came from.
Fagan can't convert, and the rebound to Williams. Yeah, you know, Memphis has a reputation for having some tough kids, and she takes a lot of pride in recruiting those kids and teaching them how to channel that energy into a positive way through the 4 years. She sees a lot of herself in those players because she played like that, like you mentioned. It was her high school coach, she said, that changed the narrative for her, and she wants to do that for these kids, wants them to finish their career thinking, hey, I'm better for being around Trina, Coach Trina Merriweather. And John, I know you think it's a major advantage due to her grassroots experience.
It's definitely a major advantage because those kids that are very talented, they're very skilled, amazing, but they may be perceived from those coaches that are sitting on that line in those AAU tournaments as uncoachable or cancerous. But she knows how to get through to those kids because she's been through it. She's been around it, and she knows how to get the best out of them. And so that's what I was telling you. She was watching those kids that were those diamonds in the rough, but gave you so many intangibles that could lead to a winning program.
Changing their reputation over at Memphis, and they love community service. They read to a school this week, had a pizza party with an elementary school. Oftentimes, their combination of style of play and reputation, there's obstacles, but she wants this team to be accurately represented. I hope we're doing them some justice today.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like she's getting her flowers today. She deserves them, though. Like, after I got off the phone with her, I was on fire, man. I was just like, yeah, like, you want to play for a coach like that.
Shoots the turnaround, in and out. And the rebound to Cooper. The lead is 21 for the Gamecocks. Bree Hall gets it in the side to Watkins. Faces, can't hit. And it's Welch leading the rush for Memphis. Three-pointer off the mark, and so here's Raven Johnson. Up ahead, it's Hall.
You see it, South Carolina still doing what they do. They're not going to change. They're going to continue to get stops, see if they can get something going on the open floor, make something happen.
Fifth assist for Raven Johnson. And the basket from Hall. Shoots, trying to get around Johnson. Williams drives. Draws the foul on Bree Hall. And Lynetta Williams will head to the line.
You saw there, like, you know, at this point, Memphis is trying to work on their stuff. But you saw Memphis really get some type of movement in their offense where they're getting the ball, seeing what they can get out of the offense. And you see there, you get a free throw line situation where you can knock down two, hopefully.
Williams hits the first.
They really want that sandwich.
They keep putting the promo up there. Tigers keep spoiling it.
I'd want to be that guy.
Olivia Thompson on the floor for the Gamecocks, wears number 0 in white. Don't give her any space. Very good three-point shooter. 2 for 9 this season so far from 3. Johnson on the drive. She's blocked by Williams.
Well, I think Johnson was hoping that Thompson's man was going to help off of her, and they did not, because obviously the scout report is out. She can shoot that ball.
Shoots, misses everything, and now this crowd at CLA gives her the business. 2 minutes remaining, and Gamecock lead is 22. The look inside to Fagan. Welch will drive. She was met by Cooper, who provided some help for Olivia Thompson, but the foul is going to be called.
Okay, there it was. I was like, Talasia Cooper doesn't have a shoot.
Cooper has 4.
She's been playing with a lot of aggression defensively, and it's good that she gets in these games like this to be able to figure it out and understand the pace and how referees are going to call things.
Two impressive freshmen combining on that play. Cooper fouling Welch. Welch, she's a playmaker, 16.5 minutes off the bench this season, but she's a team leader in assist-to-turnover ratio as the backup point guard for Memphis.
The thing is, Welch actually started off as the starting point guard, or was projected to be the starting point guard for Memphis. But, you know, as you continue to see Jefferson's heart and soul, you couldn't deny it.
In and out for Thompson. Jefferson, tough shot. She draws the whistle. It's going to be on Sanaya Fagan. So with 1:15 left to go, Memphis will have a chance to bring it within 20. They trail by 21. Monty Jefferson to the line, coming into today a 65% free throw shooter. Hits the first.
Jefferson said, "It's not going to be me."
She gets to the line a lot this season. Coming in, she had more free throw attempts than field goal attempts.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw them play against St. John's, I mean, she was getting to the basket at will, creating a lot of foul calls, but then also not just because of her ability to drive to the basket, but also just offensive rebounds.
She had 13 attempts from the line in that one. Johnson feeds Cooper, and she'll draw the foul. A really good look from Raven Johnson.
Well, that's what she does. She's a great passer, moves the ball really well, and does a fantastic job of just seeing opposite. It's really hard at times to see the ball from the opposite side of the floor because you're only thinking about the player in front of you. But looking opposite is how you understand whether or not you're going to have help side on your drive or whether somebody's going to be open.
Raven Johnson's a young point guard that has a great feel for the game. Coach Staley says she puts the ball where players should have it instead of where they want it. We're going to have a foul called on Hannah Riddick. The fourth foul on Riddick. So Fagan heads the line. It's the first. Fagan, first team All-American, as a senior in high school, the number 4 overall player in the class of 21. In and out. I think that might be her first free throw miss of the season. She's perfect before that one.
She's a very versatile player. I mean, she can do a lot of things. I mean, she's got great, you see it. I mean, she's out here just dancing around the basket here. I feel like she's buffing her stats a little bit, but she does a really good job of passing out of double teams too, which is people don't put a premium on that, but she does a really good job of passing, and I think that was one of the reasons what Coach Don saw in her was in high school, obviously she's the biggest person on the floor, so it's going to be hard to stop her, and so that demands a ton of double teams, and she was willing and able to make the pass out of the double teams to the right person to get them shots.
Another talented big for the Gamecocks. She comes from a basketball family. Her mom played at Washington, her dad at Morgan State. Four seconds between the shot clock and the game clock, so an opportunity for Watkins. Looks like we're going to have a whistle and a foul that's going to be called on Amani Jefferson.
And this young group has a lot of promise moving forward.
Ten points now for Sanaya Fagan. Career high is 15. That came in the opener against ETSU. She's really efficient too, John. Came into today second on the team in field goal percentage.
Yeah, I mean, she's just taking what's given to her based on the circumstance. I think she's she could be really good in the upcoming season and obviously in the future for the Gamecocks.
Well, Welch will dribble it out, and South Carolina will pick up the win 79-54. The Gamecocks improved to 8-0 overall, 4-0 here at home. Memphis will drop to 4-4. They pick up their first road loss, a couple of neutral site losses, but this is their first true road loss of the season. 25-point win, John, for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I mean, you got to see the Gamecocks do what they do best, which is dominate the paint consistently and get defensive stops and turnovers where they're able to get out in the open floor and do what they do best. And then you got to see Memphis really battle and claw to make sure that they could continue to get better as a unit to translate into their conference play. So kudos to both teams. Obviously, South Carolina doing what they do best, and I look forward to seeing them play against Liberty soon.
Next up from Memphis, Thursday, December 8th against NC Central. Next for the Gamecocks, Sunday, December 11th against Liberty. We'll have that for you right here on SEC Plus. For John Williams and the rest of our crew, I'm Dave Weinstein saying so long from Columbia.